and one. And here we go again. Welcome back to what I've named the Superhuman podcast, which is a bit obscure, really, because we're all very much not superhuman right now. In fact, we can't even work a laptop. It's just so we thought we'd have another go. As I would like to think we're getting progressively better, but given this has took us 25 minutes to get on screen, that's probably not the case. So I am here today with Editor-in-Chief of Front Double, Gary Chappell, my good friend. How are you, mate?
Good. How are you?
I'm all the better for seeing you, my good friend. All the better for seeing you. And we've got our guest today is Harry Ogg. So, Harry, what's your official title within the BPA, bro?
I'm actually the vice president and Scottish rep as well.
So just forget them all in. Scottish rep, vice president, all in, top guy as well. So we asked Harry on because we're getting close to some of the first shows of the season, and yours is the first on the BPA calendar, isn't it, mate?
Yes, it is. It's early this year, well, a little earlier than last year. I've gone 23rd of March this year, which is the first weekend of the Scottish shows, so hopefully I can catch all the guys in their early in the prep and early in their warm-ups, and hopefully they'll all jump in, so hoping it's going to be a busy show.
So that was the plan, was it? Because Scotland has its own like pre-season almost, doesn't it? So it kicks off the bodybuilding season.
Yeah, it does, so, and most of the Scottish guys all want to compete at the same time, so.
Yeah, it was. I experienced it first for the first time last year at Mark Taylor's show up at the Dam of Scotland, and I'd not really been quite aware that it kicked off in such, in such a way. So you've got like a run of shows, haven't you? And they're all Scottish shows, and the guys, it's very much like the lads in Wales. They want to compete in Scotland for Scottish titles. That seems to be the drivers. And there's some fantastic athletes up there. So your plan this year was get in first, get them all on, get them all moving.
Yeah, it just gives them all a chance to. We're not the biggest organisation yet, so others will be targeting a main show, and I thought, well, if they use the BPA Scottish as a warm up for the other ones, then they've more chance of getting more athletes in then that way and make it a busier show, so. We've got probably the highest prize money for the overalls out of all the Scottish shows. So that's £750 for the overall men and overall female winner.
Harry, is that increased from last year? Was it 500 last year?
Yeah. One of my good friends, Watty Milne from Metal Tech UK, he stepped up and he's came in as a main sponsor this year. So that's allowed us to, along with my accountant, Phil Simpson at 525 Accountancy, they've always been my main sponsors, but with the prize money, with the sponsor money coming in, I've managed to put the prize money up from £500 up to 750 this year.
Yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it? When you think that, like you say, it may not be a main show for some, but with that kind of prize money offered at an amateur level, perhaps that needs rethinking from some athletes.
Yeah, well, that's what we'll hope. It's not all, it's not all about the prize money, but what we first set out, lads, really when we first broke away and set up BPA, was that we wanted to look after the athletes, and that was our main thing. So we wanted to have good quality trophies, we wanted to have prize money, we wanted to have things like tiaras, flowers, champions jackets, all these different types of things for the athletes. Because you guys know as well as I do how expensive it is to be an amateur bodybuilder. We don't often, well, in my day, there was no prize money for an amateur at all. You were lucky if you got a sponsorship, which I was lucky enough to get, but there's a lot better bodybuilders than me that have never ever been sponsored, so it's a very hard game. It's an expensive hobby, if you like. And
It's a
we
very
want to make sure
expensive
that
hobby,
we had,
guys, isn't it?
yeah, we had good quality trophies as well and medals. So we actually placed top 3 with statues, and 4th, 5th, and 6th has the large BPA bespoke medal, you know. So sorry about that. I better put this on.
Glad that was you, because I'm going, no. Which what have we done now?
I meant to just put this on silent, you know, but yeah, here we go.
What
Right,
that
so
is
that one.
another athlete wanting to register, having heard that you've got £750 prize money for the overall winners. That's who that was, calling you to register already.
Already. We're not even live. Preempted. Oh, no. It's, I mean, it's a cracking move, isn't it? Because if it wasn't on your radar already as an athlete, as an amateur bodybuilder, even the Scottish shows, then it's got to put, it's going to prick your attention definitely, and it's going to give people an opportunity to experience that BPA experience that both Gary and I have had. And the reasons we're here doing this, we've had some fantastic times stood on the BPA stage. Again, why I threw my hat into the ring to be a promoter, and we say it all the time. I mean, everybody wants to say they put the athletes first and up front, and you guys have really nailed it up to press, and I know there's a lot more to come. You can't, the quality of the trophies are second to none. I mean, there was usually, like last week I had 2 sat here, first and second place, because we've got a couple of them, and Gary's got an overall somewhere, and they are phenomenal pieces to be sat on your mantelpiece or your sideboard or just, to look back at. And then we look at even the medals. I mean, I got 4th at the Super Show in the under-80s, having come 2nd in the Classic. And now I was sort of disappointed, but then I went, I ain't got one of them yet. I'm just still dead chuffed to get one of this, because the little silver medals are wicked.
Yeah.
And still look as good sat on the side. They'd be good in any, even in the top 3. So.
Well, we did decide to do it that way so that even though you were outside the top 3, you still had something fairly special that not everybody gets, So that was the idea, and our stage set up. I was lucky enough to meet Scott Blair from Spotlight Events, and a lot of his ideas have been, where we are with our stage setup with the tunnel and the smoke and the confetti and, all the lighting, the extra lighting that goes in. It's something that most of the athletes, the feedback that they give us is that they love that being centre stage and coming out of a tunnel through the middle, whereas we were kind of instrumental in sort of introducing that into bodybuilding.
Helen was saying sorry, guys. Helen was
No,
the other day.
There's
some new bits that we're bringing to the stage this year. I think you're instrumental for that. Is there anything you can allude to, tell us about now, or will we be seeing them at your show?
Well, we'll all be seeing them at our show. It's just sort of an update of the current stage setting. So this is we're trying to improve every year. That's our main thing, is to listen to the athletes. We're bringing in new classes this year. We've got 4 new classes coming in. We've got novice bikini and novice men's physique that we're bringing in. We're also bringing in the fit model, which fit model for guys and for females. So that's a new kind of category, that we're kind of going back to what the original men's physique and original bikini looked like back in the day when they first started, So
Gary had shown some interest in that fit model class for himself, I think, for this year. Is that not right, Gaz?
Yeah, I did a photo shoot after winning the Masters All Stars, and that was part of the prize. And they put me in a pair of, ripped jean shorts, and voila! All of a sudden, I'm a fit model.
Well, you've got the looks for it, Gary. So
he has, hasn't
yeah,
he? Let's be fair to him. The aesthetics there. I bet that did you following no harm, did it?
Well, it did quite a bit of harm, actually.
We'll say no more on that. I'll leave that one where it is.
Harry, I was going to ask you, in terms of planning for a show, Phil and I mean, Phil is going to find this out. I mean, I certainly not aware of it. What goes into planning for a show at this stage, and how does that change, and how does the pressure build leading up to March 23rd?
Yeah, there's just so much involved in organising everything, all the people, the venues, the getting answers from people, that's the main thing. This year I've had a bit of a delay on getting my tickets, and everything now seems to be over email and messaging now. You can't pick up the phone and actually speak to people anymore, which is a bit of a, I'm old school. I like to just pick up the phone, speak to people. I need an answer. I get it right away by a phone call. Now you've got to sit by the computer waiting on an email popping in to see. So I'm a bit later in getting them organised this year. But I mean, we've had registration. You've got the website side of things that you've got to keep up to date. We've got to organise transport, hotels for all the judges, and all the judges don't get paid for this, so they all give up their time to come up, and that's something that I think a lot of people don't seem to realise, that there's no money in it for the judges, there's nothing in it for them at all but stick half the time, because
Yes.
they'll always get it, apart from the winner. The winner's the only one that's happy,
Exactly.
So
yeah.
it's a very difficult job to judge as well. It's not the easiest. You don't have as much time to get to a decision. There's a lot of athletes, there's a lot of classes, so there's a lot of pressure on that too, on the judges, to get it right,
As a judge, because I know that you judge yourself, what are you hoping to see from athletes this season that may have been missing in the past?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, Gary, we've been really quite lucky in the standard of athletes that we've had, What we look for is just, I mean, we don't put any pressure on any of the athletes. We try and keep the BPA really, really friendly. We're all really accessible to everyone to come and talk to us. We just look for, I mean, obviously, ultimately, you're looking for that perfect physique, aren't you? We're just looking for everyone to try their best to fit the criteria of each class, come in at your very best, and that's something that we have been lucky with. We've had some great physiques come off over our stages, yourself included, Gary. We've had some fantastic physiques all round coming over, and that's really what we're looking for. And giving the new guys a chance to compete without pressure, without that sort of, and we really want to maintain that friendliness and openness to everyone. That's what we're trying to. We're a non-profit organisation. There's no profit. What money we do get goes back in. We are intending on trying to fund athletes to go internationally and stuff, but the funds quite haven't made it there yet. But that's what we're hoping for, that we can reward the athletes, help them on their journey to better things, to bigger shows.
Yeah. Is there any advice that you could give, like if someone's planning on competing for the first time, or maybe not even for the first time? Is there anything that you've seen that you think maybe just work on this or work on that? Is there any advice that you could give somebody that's coming into a show this year?
Yeah, anyone is prepping for a show, I always say is to give plenty time, so that you've got that time to refine your condition or your physique to whatever way you want on stage. And posing is very, very important. They've got to practice posing, because I mean, I
that
say
wasn't
that
aimed at me, Harry.
No, not at all, mate. Just
I know it was a weak point. You got better.
Yeah, when I first started bodybuilding, it was my main thing was my physique and my condition, and I didn't practice enough posing, and my posing did let me down. I was lucky enough to win a few shows just purely on my physique, because my posing was ridiculously bad. But that is something that when I'm helping guys get ready for shows and things, that I'm very hard on them, is posing practice, and getting the posing right, because you can have the best physique in the gym or in your bedroom or in front of the mirror or wherever it is. But if you can't present that on stage, then that's where you're going to fall down. And it's not, sometimes the guys that are presenting it better get the nod because the other guys are just not, they're not holding their pose, they're not holding the muscle, especially from the rear. It's where most fall down.
From personal experience, I know that was always a thing that I struggled with. And again, I know those of you that know me probably laugh, going, Phil struggled posing. Look at him, right? But actually, when he got on stage, it was something I was never comfortable doing. I knew I was, again, when we got to the British finals this year, it was poor. I know Steve Johnson come up to me at the end of it, and obviously I know I won that class, and he went, please, work on your posing. You are going to get beat by lesser people because it's terrible. And I said to him at the time, I said, Steve, I promise you this will get progressively better over the course of the shows. And I did, and I worked on it every single day, every single morning after I'd trained. I worked with some great people. Our friend Andrew Chappell, Neil Smithers was brilliant with me. And, put the graft in. And I think the proudest moment from that, we were stood backstage at the Universe. And Steve come up to me and he went, and it was a week after the Super Show, and he went, just want to say, mate, right, after what I said to you before, you promised me you'd do it, and you did. And I was so proud to see you bring that and actually present it well. And that meant a lot to me, so you've got to work on that, and you've got to get it right. And
absolutely. It's something that I've seen many, many people, much, much better bodybuilders, physique, females, figure, bikini, getting beat from people that they shouldn't really because of their posing, So, that's something that I would always say is first and foremost, is get your posing right and your condition. The condition's another, something that needs to be spot on, depending on what class it is, but it needs to be damn near perfect, and work on your conditioning. Sometimes that just needs that extra 3-4 weeks to get there, And don't be afraid to do cardio. I can't believe that people manage to get in a condition without any cardio, but never mind.
Well, I mean, I think between a few shows last year, I ended up coming into the British Championships having not done very much cardio, only because that hard work for me had already been done.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? I'd already got that fat was gone. So for me, what was I doing what was I doing cardio for? I didn't.
Yeah, definitely.
Fat loss. I kind of felt like I was in shape and I didn't need to do it.
That's it. Yeah, once you're ready, you're ready. You just need to maintain. You're not hammering cardio at that point. What I meant was to get there in the first place. And really, posing practice is a great way. Because posing is hard. Very hard. To be posing fit, stage fit.
There was
that's a lot different, isn't it? I mean, if you've got a class of, well, whatever, 7 or 8 or even 4, and you're put through your paces, when you come off stage, a lot of the time you're breathing more heavily than you would after a leg session.
Absolutely, Gary. Yeah, absolutely. I remember one British that I did, I kept getting called out all the time, and I was actually bent over, because I just couldn't catch my breath, And actually, my brother was a bit worried about me in the crowd. He was like, "What's the matter with him?" And I thought, well,
struggling.
Try doing this for
it's hard work.
So many call-outs like it is very, very difficult. One thing that I would say is that the quarter turns as well is so important to get them right before you even start posing, because that's where the judges first get a look at you and see how your structure is, and they're very important too. That they call it front relaxed. Well, it's anything but relaxed, because you're having to hold that position as well, and tensing everything and trying to look relaxed is a hard thing as well, and keep breathing through it all.
Yeah, and then you've got to smile through it all as well.
I know, that's it. It is. I think the preparation for the show is something that, you've got to try and get right, try and get all of these things, whether it's help with posing or just practicing, watching videos. Not everyone has a coach, but coaches seem to be everyone seems to have a coach these days, but I think they do miss out a bit on the posing side of it, especially the guys. The girls are quite happy to go to a posing coach, but the guys are not as willing to do that, and it
Why
does make
do
a
you think that is, Harry? Do you think there's a reason for that?
I'm not really sure. I just
We
think
just
guys
don't
are
like
still, yeah, they still think that their physique's going to see them through, and I think if you're good enough, that will, if you're absolutely outstanding. But if you're getting to the point where it's not very much in it between 2 or 3 athletes, then your posing's going to win it for you. 100%.
It's going to make the difference.
It is.
Yeah.
There's that thing about if you're not comfortable posing, right? Because it's not, for some of us, it's not natural. For some people, it comes really naturally. It doesn't come naturally for me. And then I always get frustrated with myself knowing that this isn't how I want to present that. And then my brain goes, fuck it off. Right. So, but then you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the whole point, and those bits that you don't want to do, you have to make yourself do. I mean, after all of that, we got to the UK show at the end of the season, and I decided to do it when I probably wasn't going to do it. And that lineup, I think there's 8 of us in it, and they worked us. Paul Sutton had us in about 4 different call-outs. The guys were sweating, people would get cramping, and I was dry as a bone, right, and just kept going because of the work that I'd done in the weeks growing up. And that's where the difference is, isn't it? Because I was like, I'll keep doing this. Right. And I hadn't really thought anything of it until, like you say, you're watching guys and it's pouring off them and they're cramping, they're breathing heavy. And I'm like, another round? But so get comfortable being uncomfortable because it will pay off. I mean, it didn't in that show, but anyway, that's another story.
That's what I try to get guys to do, is to hold their poses for like 2 minutes, things like that, to try and get them ready and get them comfortable. I was never ever comfortable doing a routine, I'm not the best at doing them at all. I like to see a good routine though, I must admit. I like when I'm judging, I like watching really well choreographed and put together my routines. It is something that's missed in bodybuilding a little, that the routines kind of thing, and I like to watch them, and it does give us another chance to have a look at the athletes, things that you might have not seen quite so much during the quarter turns or the mandatories. Once they're doing the routine, you can see a bit more then, and it's that can influence the decision as well, So it is important to try and make your routine as best as it can get,
Yeah, I mean, those routines aren't judged as such, are they? But are you saying that you could change a decision based on what you might see during that routine?
Yes, if a judge sees something in the routines that makes them think that I maybe should have had that one second or third, then they have the opportunity to change then, so it's not hard and fast finished,
Yeah.
The judge has got the chance to have a look at all the individually routines again and just see how, if there's something that, can influence the decision against, being a place higher or lower or something like that, then that can happen with us, yeah.
You mentioned
I don't think it's fair to judge a routine solely just on routines, because you could get someone that was miles out of shape with not such a great physique and pull off an absolutely stunning, cracking routine. And bodybuilding's about the physique predominantly, so that was why we came to that decision to use the routine as that kind of tiebreaker, if you like.
You mentioned about the holding the poses for 2 minutes when you're practicing. Anyone that doesn't have a posing coach, how long would you recommend is a decent amount of time to be practicing posing per day in the weeks leading up to a show?
Well, I would recommend starting to practice posing as soon as you decide to compete. I wouldn't leave it to the last minute. I've got guys that I help for shows, and they're posing in front of me way out, 22 weeks, but they're still posing in front of me, and I'm putting them through their poses with everything. The only thing I'll miss out is the abs and thigh. That's the only thing I'll miss out because there's not much point in doing that. But I still get them to do it, to feel what the pose is like. I need to get them into the positions that they should be in. I need to get them to feel each muscle. And that's a thing with posing, is to not look in the mirror, but to feel your body parts, especially from the rear. Because there's so many people drop their calves off, drop their hamstrings off, they're not spreading their backs properly. There's loads of little things that need attention to detail with posing, and that's what I think you should be practicing that all year round, Gary, and obviously increasing that as the weeks, come into the shows. That's where, when you can see everything, that's when, you want to be posing almost every day, to make sure that you've got everything bang on. And you need that other pair of eyes on you to see what position your poses look best for you, because everyone's not the same. Everyone isn't the same. Some people look better in certain ways of positions of poses than others, so I think it's finding your strongest look that you can present on stage that's the best,
Yeah, and I think you make a good point in terms of not using a mirror. I mean, it's easy to look at the mirror and you can see what you're doing, but when you're on stage, of course, there are no mirrors, so you really do need to nail that sort of posing by feel, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. That's what I like to do. I like to close the curtain in front of the mirror, get the guys to pose in front of me, then, so it's only me that's looking at them, and then that way, you've got them making sure that they know how to hold each muscle and contract each muscle and hold it, because I've seen some really good physiques that have turned to the back and they've just not managed to tense the muscle or hold it there, and they've looked soft when they're not. And unfortunately, when you're judging, you've got to see everything. So it is very important.
Yeah, I was speaking to Paul Knight a couple of weeks ago at a Lee Priest seminar, and he was saying, you can't judge what you don't see. You have to judge what you can see, even though you might think, I know it's there, but this person's just not able to show it. And that must be quite frustrating as a judge. If you see someone with potential and it's the posing that's let them down, that must drive you nuts.
It drives me nuts because I see so many of them, and I think, I could help this guy, if only he was doing this, or if only he was doing that, then, he would have nailed it, or it would have made a difference, to his position or her position. That's definitely a valid point, that, Gary, for sure.
Phil obviously doesn't have that problem because he managed to nail his posing sufficiently to please Steve Johnson.
Look, right, all I'm saying it was the improvement. It was way off perfect. It was definitely better than where it fucking started. That's for sure. Because I think, mate, you were stood there at the finals, right? And we all know it was Paul, right? I managed to nick that one over Andy. I'll take it every day of the week. I've got a lovely shiny first place trophy at British finals for that fact. But it needed a lot of work, and I definitely by the end of it, and especially when we got to, I think, the Super Show, and then definitely the Super Show, I was a lot more confident with what I was doing, how I was presenting. That still needs work. It was always at the weak point, and there's a few little bits and pieces, but I'd got more comfortable being more uncomfortable with it. So yeah, not the best at it. Was the point being is the more work you do on it, the easier it becomes, the more natural it is. You feel for it, make sure you show off those bits.
Yeah. The more experience you get as well, Gary, like yourself, you're a very good poser now. It's it just looks effortless from you, and that's the art, isn't it?
Well, I guess so.
To try and make it look effortless.
Yeah, I mean, that's new. I mean, I would never regard myself as a good poser as such. You mentioned Andy Chappell earlier. I mean, that he can pose really gracefully. I can't move very gracefully on stage. I mean, it's just a matter of showing your best attributes as well as
that's
possible.
What I mean. I don't mean like in a sort of routine sort of manner, but I mean nailing your individual poses. And the transitions between poses are so important as well. We see a lot of guys that let their midsections loose in transitions, and that's not a good look, So practicing transitions is a very good thing to do as well, to make sure that you're fluent with your posing. It's not, you're not standing looking at your feet, just messing around. You're trying to practice being fluent with your quarter turns, being fluent when you're getting into your poses, getting into your poses early and holding the pose, rather than watching everybody else. Just make sure you get into your pose early, because if you're in the pose early and you're holding that pose, well, you're the first person the judge is looking at.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that, get into the poses early. Don't faff around touching your glutes, touching your hamstrings. We know your glutes are there. We know your hamstrings are there. You don't need to point to them. You don't need to touch them. Just get into the pose, All
right, we're going into season 3 of the BPA. I mean, how did it all come about, mate, if you don't mind us asking? Because obviously there's history. You guys were all there at UK BFF. There's a bit of a breakaway there. I mean, how did that come about, and how are you feeling going into season 3 with what you've achieved up to press?
Yeah, well, a group of us just, we're becoming increasingly, what's the word? Just
disillusioned? Well,
that, and, there was a lot of things that we wanted to try and implement that the committees wouldn't even listen to. It was either their way or the highway kind of thing. There was a lot of people not getting treated the way that I would think is the correct way to treat people. So that was enough for us just to say, right, we're just going to break away. And the first discussion was that we were probably just going to do independent shows and support each other and come and judge for each other. And then we thought, well, why don't we just start our own organisation? And I know there is probably too many organisations in bodybuilding now, but we still felt that we could make a difference and make a real good quality organisation that looks after the athletes and makes it fun to compete, because we felt that some of the shows, it wasn't fun anymore. People weren't having a good time. They were just, they weren't treated well. And I'm not sure if that's up down to numbers and things like that. That can be that, but I still think that regardless of how busy you are, you can still be civil to people and give them answers and just be friendly,
You can't get to a point where you're just a number and it's a cattle market, right? There's, when we consider the amount of effort, time, sacrifice that goes in to putting to standing on stage, to building a physique, it's the whole thing for me personally. It has to be fun. This is a hobby. We spend a shit ton of money on, a lot of time doing, and if it ain't fun, what's the point in doing it?
Exactly.
And I suppose, I mean, I can speak from experience. I'm pretty sure Gary will back me up on this one. Is that our experiences of being on that stage, being part of the BPA, being involved, has always been fun. And the athletes that I've brought with me, the guys who've got involved, have all said exactly the same. It was interesting last year because we get to the end of the Super Show and everyone went, it'd been a long day, it'd been a long weekend, a lot of travelling and all the rest. And everyone went, been a great weekend though, hasn't it? Right? We've had such a laugh, everybody together, cheering your mates on, seeing people you hadn't seen, and just what this whole bodybuilding nonsense for me should be about, watching some great physiques on there. I mean, we know it wasn't perfect in regards to certain things with like the lighting and a few other little bits and pieces, but when everyone comes away saying they've had a great time, really pleased with the experience regardless of results, that speaks volumes in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's what really, we're becoming increasingly frustrated really with the other organisation we were with. So that was why we just felt with so many good ideas to bring in, Helen, our president, she works tirelessly on this, she's doing everything, she does all our social media, she organises just about everything, apart from our own shows, but the BPA in general needs a lot of organisation, and she does a fantastic job with that. Really unbelievable, so we've got to thank her for the position that we're in at the moment. Her, Steve Graham, myself, and all the judges. It's fantastic that they're all so keen and so passionate about it that they travel all the way up to Scotland just to sit and judge, and then have to go all the way back again, so.
And not be paid.
What's nice to see is that you've got a lot of experienced people within this industry coming together for no other reason than they're enjoying the experience again. Again, obviously, that level of experience is then transported into the athlete experience. And it's just good fun, and it's growing. The people there's no agendas, right? No one's there trying to improve their own personal status for whatever reason. It's all about, we love this sport, we want good things in it, we all come together because we're doing something we enjoy doing it, even if we're not competing. And again, that comes through in what the athletes experience on the day, I think. It's, the people that seem to be coming, the more people that are getting involved, the people I know who've asked about being involved and sit on our teams, are all really, really, really good people and have the best in mind for the sport. So it's an exciting year, I think.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to this year. We felt we did a lot of good groundwork in our first year, and then the second year we obviously brought that. Helen and Mohammed brought the Super Show with some amazing prize money. We put on an IFBB Pro Show after that as well, which was a fantastic experience too. We feel that we're moving in the right direction, and we hope this year's a big year for us now.
Harry, when we had Helen on last week, and part of her advice or take-home message was that, you get a lot of opportunities in life, and basically to make the most of them, just say yes. Has there ever been a time where you have just said yes and then completely regretted it?
Man, yeah, I think there's too many to mention, Gary,
Yeah, well, I mean, on the flip side of that, is there anyone that you would hope would have said yes, but has said no?
In terms of athletes, do you mean?
In terms of anything, really. I mean, it's just a off the cuff question based on what Helen said. Just say yes, and I thought to myself, well, there's certainly so many people I could talk to and say, look, take Helen's advice and just say yes.
I'm having to bite my tongue so much here; it's unreal. Just my voice is in my head. I'm going, don't say it, Phil. Don't say it. Just keep it inside.
Yeah. You know what? Sometimes I think that, life in general is very, very short, Gary. It is. I mean, I'm at the age I'm at now, and I just can't believe I've got here like so quick. And I'm a great believer in, if you're ready, just do the shows. I mean, it's, I always felt that I got better every show I did, one after the other. I always felt I was better and better as I competed, and whether you do, the British that I did was a 2-day thing, so you had to be ready for the first day and the second day, so I think it's just a case of when you're ready, you just need to do a little bit of manipulation for your water, a bit more carbs, a bit less carbs, whatever way around. And if you're down, if your body fat's low enough, you're going to look great, so I just think you should compete, make the most of it, because it's no long before it's over.
That's an interesting point, actually, that you raised there, because not necessarily people that think, am I ready? I see some people in the gym and carry a lot of muscle, and I say, you're going to compete soon. Oh, I'm not really big enough. And they are big enough. You don't realise until you get the fat off how different and big you're going to look, tanned and under those lights. I mean, it's such an illusion.
Well, it is an illusion, Gary. You're right. I mean, that's what we create on stage. I mean, it's not about the weight. It's one of our judges, Steve Graham. Steve, I've told this story many times to many people at the Amateur Olympia 2011. Steve's class was actually cancelled because they didn't have enough athletes in it. And Steve was due to go on as an under 80, and the next class up was an under 80. So Steve had the opportunity to go into that. He had asked me my advice, and I just told him, I said, Steve, you're looking absolutely phenomenal. Get into the class. It's not always about the heaviest guy on stage. So Steve's given away over over 5 kilos in body weight to these other guys, to some of them, and he ended up winning the show. You know, it just shows you, you know, that you don't have to be the biggest guy on stage to win. You've just got to present the best package, you know. And I hear it all the time from guys, like when they're thinking about competing. Oh, I'm not going to do a show till I can win one. Well, you're never guaranteed of winning one anyway. You could be, you know, it all depends on who you come up against, you know. And I think, you know, if you're ever considering bodybuilding, just get on a diet and get on stage, and then work from there.
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem, actually, the diet bit, where people say, I don't feel big enough, I don't think I'm big enough. I think a lot of that is a mental thing, where when they start to diet and when they get dressed, where they're getting clothes on and their clothes feel big, they start to feel small, and then in their head, they're like, I'm losing muscle, I'm getting smaller. And that's where a lot of people say, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, that's right. Because I always used to say, like, beware of the guy that looks like a bag of bones in his clothes. You know?
Yeah. You can tell,
that was the one. And I remember way back in one of the early Scottish NABBA shows, Sean Butt was the guest star, and he was on Steve's BSN stand, and everybody was looking at him, sort of sniggering away, like thinking, "What is that? Is that the guest star?" You know, because he was small, he looked like a bag of bones. He did, but wow, when he got on stage, it was unbelievable. You know, unbelievable. You know, the physique that he had. You know, so it's just a case of just if you go to the gym, you've got a decent physique, then you've got a chance at bodybuilding. All you need to do is diet. You know, get the fat off. You know, and work on your posing, obviously, you know, and get on stage, you know. Yeah. And you never know what can happen. That's the way I always felt. I was late coming into bodybuilding. I was in my 40s before I did my first show.
Yeah, me too.
And that was the same thing with me. I mean, I had an accident and everything's, you know, I had a while getting over that. But it was just a case of, right, you know, I was never ready. I never felt ready. And a couple of my pals just said to me, look, you just need to just diet and get on stage, as simple as that, and then see where the chips fall, like, you know. And that's how I got started, you know, and went on to, you know, compete at a reasonable level. So it's all good fun, you know, as well, Gary. You know, as I do, the guys you meet backstage, the camaraderie you have, the girls, great crack backstage, you know what I mean? Just friendly, you know, the atmospheres you get backstage are just tremendous, you know. And most people are really, really supportive of you, you know, so.
Absolutely. It's one of those things I don't think you find in many other sports. Most of oppositions in other sports are fierce rivals, whereas in bodybuilding, it's not like that at all, is it? You could be best of mates, and, you know, your fiercest rival is also your closest ally.
Yeah, that's right. And it's the respect that you gain for people as well. Because if you get beat, you know, getting beat for somebody like yourself, Gary, that's no, you know what I mean?
There's no shame in that, is there? Gary's
there is no shame. Exactly, Phil. You know, and sometimes when you stand on stage and you get beat from a physique like Gary's, and you just think, well, you know, I was never going to win, you know. But the point is that you need to be at your best. You know, you need to present the best package of yourself. And most of the time you're competing against yourself year in, year out, because all you're wanting to do is to make improvements on your past physique that you're in your last show. And that's
all you can control, isn't it?
Was trying to make improvements myself, concentrate on myself, never mind photographs or social media, other people. Just concentrate on yourself and then turn up and try and do the business.
Yeah, we've had some laughs backstage, haven't we, guys? It's one of the things that I think we enjoyed with what we did with all the tanning stuff and getting out there and getting around all the shows that we do, working with all the federations that we do. I think that's the only thing that drove me on. It definitely wasn't doing the tanning. We've made some great friends along the way. So me and Gaz met, and a lot of my mates, you know, we've that backstage thing, and there can be a lot of nerves, especially if you've been away from the scene for a while, or, you know, you're new to it, and being able to help either calm people down, just talk them through it, help people get out their own heads, because we've all do that. We get caught in there, and you start looking about, and the next thing you're second guessing yourself, and you almost talk yourself out of win some people. Like, just get up there and do what you need to do and enjoy it.
Yeah, I remember competing at the Worlds, and I thought I was in the wrong pump-up room. The guys were that good. So it's you're like, well, should I really be here?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? You promise yourself before, I'm not going to look at anybody else. I'm not going to do any of that. And then as soon as you step in the pump up, that's it. That goes out the window. You're making an effort. Oh, look at him.
I'm going to say, right, Gaz, and I can say this because you're my mate, right? You're one of the worst for that, right? And I think, I've said this to Gary's got, and I think, Harry, you'll agree with me, he's got one of the nicest and most balanced physiques in the amateur scene that there's been. I know you've got a pro card now as well, mate, and then you added that extra mass to it the last year or so, and it's like, and then he'll be stood there going, what do you think? I'm like, you're fucking ace. Literally, right? Everybody else is looking at you going, I hope he's not in my class.
You don't see it. You just don't see it, do you? You've never seen yourself like that.
No.
I know.
And I think that's common amongst bodybuilders, Gary. You always feel yourself as the guy that first started bodybuilding, the size you were then. You always still feel that way, even though you've put on such, mass or whatever. You never feel confident that you're going to win. I mean, I remember even at the British, the first year that I did reasonably well at the British, I still went backstage to see that I was in the top 10. I still didn't believe it until I saw it on the paper. And I ended up finishing second in my first, the second British that I did, I managed to finish second. And I still took nothing for granted, I still didn't really believe it, even though everyone's telling you, oh, you're in with a shout here or whatever, you still always have that self-doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because bodybuilding you mention bodybuilding to anybody and they would conjure this image of it being a physical sport. You're in the gym and you're lifting weights and whatever. Actually, I think it's more of a mental sport than anything. Really do. You have to be mentally strong. If you're not mentally strong, well, I say that and I don't regard myself as mentally strong either, but if you haven't got that mental strength, you're going to find it tough.
Yeah, but you have to have that, Gary, or you would never get through a diet.
Yeah, true.
You have to have that mental strength, or you would give up. You would, So you do yourself a disservice to say you're not mentally strong, because anybody that's gone the distance and got to a certain level of conditioning stuff has been through all the mental struggles. Especially if you're like me that loves food. I just love food. People ask me if you got a sweet or a savoury tooth. I say both. I love everything. I love all the good stuff as well, but I know what you can eat and what you can't eat and what you've got to do to get away with it. And it is extremely hard those last few weeks. If you're dieting properly, it's very difficult.
Sure. Yeah.
That's where it can really do you in, can't you? We've seen, how many people have we seen at great physiques that just couldn't go that last bit, and they just throw the towel in and that's it, it's done. So I've
known people, I've known people in the gym and they've been doing a show, and the next time I see them, I say, how are you getting on? They said, oh, no, I couldn't do it anymore. I got to 12 weeks out and I couldn't do it. I thought, 12 weeks out? Crikey. I mean, that is a breeze at 12 weeks out. Some people are just starting at 12 weeks out.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we talk about mental strength there. You brought it out, Gaz. So it's like, we see this thing with just a lot of bodybuilders, is that there's a lot of us that struggle mentally, I think, in this sport, right? Be it from a point of view with either depression or ADHD or other neurodiverse issues. So it's interesting to see how we're drawn to this, where you've gone, look, we do struggle in those particular areas, yet we have the mental strength and capacity to drive us past other points other people would have given up way before on, to do something sometimes that's a little bit unnatural, and then to walk away with, again, and then to come away and then do it all again maybe next year. It's like, we're either really mental or very mentally strong. I don't know which is.
Yeah, I mean, Harry, what do you think drives people like us in terms of, Phil makes a good point there, actually. A lot of people do struggle with their mental health. Okay, a lot of us do struggle with mental health issues. And those same people are the ones who are mentally strong enough to get through and get onto the stage. It doesn't add up there, does it? But what drives people like that on, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's, I think you've got to have, I don't know whether it's maybe experiences in the past that people have had that that makes them. There's a lot of people have been through loads of different things, like anorexia or being extremely overweight. And I just think the gym gives whoever goes to the gym, it just gives them that escape from reality, that escape of the pressures of life, really, and I mean, it's been well documented, the sort of good feel factor that you get from exercise. It doesn't have to be in the gym, it could be anywhere, But I think, with bodybuilding, it just gives you that focus and a drive and a will to see it through, I think. I know from my own experience, I'm a very much everything to an excess, is which my life was always all about, so I think that kind of helped me in it, that you could either go one way or the other. You could do without everything, or you can have, too much of everything, and that kind of suits sort of bodybuilding, if you like.
I feel there's a better story in this, Harry. Again, levels of excess and going down unhealthy routes, be that through narcotics or, again, other poor life choices. I think there's the thing with bodybuilding is it allows you to get back on track, build a foundation, get yourself right, give you the focus, to push on every day.
It gives you a structure in your life, you've got a real structure, because everything's got to be repetitive, everything's got to be the same every day, and it just teaches you that discipline, that self-discipline that you need, and I think it's, as I say, once you get through a full prep for a show, then you've got to be really chuffed with yourself to make it up there, definitely.
Definitely got to be mental. Guys, we're getting up to that hour point. Is there any closing things anybody wants to say? If you want to, and any points to do with the show, Harry? What's dates, times, venue, how to enter, how to buy tickets?
It's the BPA Scottish Grand Prix. The start of our show, we've got a few other shows as well. We've got the Rising Star and the Masters All Star on the 18th of May. We've got the Northern Ireland Grand Prix the 24th. We have.
Let's not forget the AGM. Sorry, Harry, the AGM as well.
The AGM, if any members or anyone that's interested in being a judge or anything can come along. The AGM is on the 9th of March in the Village Hotel.
Birmingham. Birmingham.
But it's near Birmingham. I think it's Solihull, I think. Yeah. So
that's an opportunity for anybody that's interested in, again, what the BPA is about. If you're a member of the BPA and you want to put some thoughts forward, if you just want to see, again, come and join in and see what we're doing. Feel free, register some interest. It'll be an interesting day, I think, for that.
Yeah, definitely. Then we've the English Grand Prix on the 21st of June. We've got your show that you're doing, the Superhuman show, Phil. That one's on the 31st of August. And then that leads us into the British Championships. But we've got another couple of potential shows that we're just in the middle of trying to organise with other promoters. So we may well have other ones to slot in between these pretty soon, So in terms of the Scottish, you can just go onto our website, the bpa.co.uk. Go into the events. All our events are there. Scottish Grand Prix. If you click onto that, you'll see you can book your registration. You can join from there. You can get your tan. You can get your video package, for your photograph package, the whole lot. Everything's on there. It's all on separate tags. Very, very easy to do. £50 for a membership, £50 for a class entry. And the chance of becoming, an overall champion and bagging £750 as well as a lovely trophy and sword and all the rest of it that goes with it.
Yeah, I think that's more Gary than me. We know you like a sword, Gav.
Yeah, well, I do love the sword that I won at the Masters. Yeah, comes in very handy sometimes.
Something I never ever won, and I would have loved to have won one of them, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, they're spectacular, aren't they? I mean, the ones that you're offering are about 5 foot in length at least, I think.
Yeah, they're unbelievably expensive as well. So
Really?
if there's any sponsors out there, just come in, get in touch with me if you fancy putting anything in, because it's much needed, I can assure you. You know,
It's not a cheap do, is it?
it's not, and it's another thing that people don't seem to realise, that I've never ever broke even on a show yet. So I look forward to that day that I can actually not lose any money. It's just for the love of the game, the people, me putting something back into sport. I've got my own sports nutrition shop, body fitness website as well. So it's all about just putting back, and trying to help as well. That's what the main thing is.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
people don't quite realise that it's not done as to make money and make profit from as a show promoter. It's done literally because we love the sport and we want to put on great stages for great athletes to stand on and give them the opportunity to show off all that hard work. It's definitely not done for profit. It's just another bad habit, but we're still here. Anyway, guys, thanks ever so much for joining us as always.
Cheers, Harry.
We've done not too bad for episode 2. We'll see how we're going. Anybody got any comments? Feel free to drop them in there. If you're interested in doing the Scotland, I'm pretty sure Harry's very accessible. You'll find him on Facebook and Instagram, or again via the BPA website. And we're looking forward to that show. So on that one, lads, thanks very much. I'm going to stop the recording there, and we'll see you guys in a bit.
Yes,
See you
Harry.
guys.
Thanks a lot.